Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Sunday the 9th of June 2019, and we're covering the deal agreed between the United States and Mexico, which has prevented the envisaged tariff levy being imposed tomorrow. Let's take a look at what the framework of the deal involves and assess why it was agreed so quickly. On Friday, it was announced that President Trump had negotiated a deal with Mexico to help stem the flow of migrants to the United States and allowing him not to impose the 5% tariffs on Mexican imports on Monday the 10th of June, that is, tomorrow. If this deal had not been reached, these tariffs would have risen by 5% every month on goods including cars, beer, tequila, fruit and vegetables, until they hit 25% in October. The president took much criticism for this threat, so much so that major commercial bodies within the United States criticized the decision. And even Republican senators, both publicly and especially behind closed doors, were not only critical, but threatening rebellion, stating that trade policy should not be used to deal with immigration issues. Clearly, these warnings hit home, and an arrangement has been made. In a joint declaration released by the US State Department, the two countries said Mexico would take, quote, unprecedented steps, unquote, to curb irregular migration and human trafficking, the result of 3 days of intense negotiation. Under the deal, Mexico has agreed to deploy its National Guard throughout the country from Monday, pledging up to 6,000 additional troops along Mexico's southern border with Guatemala, and to take, quote, decisive action, unquote, to tackle human smuggling networks. The United States has agreed to expand its program of sending asylum seekers back to Mexico while they await reviews of their claims. In return, the US will, quote, work to accelerate, unquote, the adjudication process. Both countries pledged to strengthen bilateral cooperation over border security, including coordinated actions and information sharing. This declaration also added that discussions would continue and final terms would be accepted and announced within 90 days. So the tariff threat has receded for now, but of course, if there is an impasse in 90 days, then who knows what will happen? We suspect neither do the parties to the agreement, as all that states for now is that, should Mexico actions not have the expected results, additional measures could be taken, but it did not specify what these additional measures would be. Now, before everyone claims total US victory, it did not, however, achieve one of its major demands, which would have required Mexico to take in asylum seekers heading for the United States and process their claims on its own soil. But in all negotiations, there has to be give and take. President Trump said, quote, Mexico will try very hard, and if they do that, this will be a very successful agreement, unquote. However, not everyone in Mexico is happy with the arrangement between President Trump and Mexican President Andrés Obrador. Angel Romero, a senior member of the left-wing PRD party, tweeted that the agreement was, quote, not a negotiation, it was a surrender. Mexico should not militarize its southern border. We're not the backyard of Donald Trump, unquote. However, Mexican Foreign Secretary Marcelo Ebrard told journalists, quote, I think it was a fair balance because they have more drastic measures and proposals at the start, and we have reached some middle point, unquote. But how did such an agreement be reached so quickly? Well, it's worth bearing in mind that Mexico is currently one of the largest trading partners of the United States, just behind China and Canada. Two countries, incidentally, who are also locked in trade disputes with the US. So why this special treatment for Mexico? Well, first of all, we have to be mindful that Mexico's trade with the US rose to $203 billion through the first 4 months of 2019. That's 3.3% above its total trade during the same time period last year. US exports to Mexico decreased by 0.25%, while US imports from Mexico rose over 6%. The United States deficit with Mexico was nearly $31 billion. Well, policymakers in the US felt that even a 5% tariff would hurt US suppliers and customers too, as they would have to pay the tariffs. But there is lurking in the background a more important point to bear in mind. An Achilles heel, if you like. This whole dispute arose because of the ever-increasing numbers appearing at the US-Mexico border seeking asylum. If the United States entered into a trade war with Mexico, and this naturally resulted in less goods being sold to the US, the already fragile Mexican economy could have been pushed into a full recession and created more migrants heading north in search of work. President Trump is already under siege to do something about the numbers that currently exist, and this would have made the situation even worse. Something that could in fact derail any success he may have in the 2020 presidential elections. Also, have you heard the idiom, the straw that broke the camel's back? Well, this could have been it, because on the announcement that these tariffs were going to be put in place, stock markets immediately fell and the US dollar value fell too. Traders were also concerned that the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, the replacement to NAFTA, would be jeopardized. And this would indeed affect equity markets globally as well as GDP growth for all of those concerned. You see, from what has happened over what has been, frankly, little over 1 week, we have perhaps learned two key points. One, President Trump has now tied immigration to bilateral trade and could negotiate in a similar way across the world, tying together two very disparate issues in an attempt to gain leverage. So this will prove interesting. And two, much of his policy making from now will be almost entirely centered upon his 2020 presidential election bid. He must achieve his promises from the first campaign, also appear tough, but also needs to ensure a vibrant economy with a high stock market number. Whether he can achieve all this, only time will tell. But for certain, we envisage more disputes and quick, apparent resolutions. Robert F. Kennedy once said in 1966, "We live in interesting times." And we agree. But we also hope that the actual saying from where that came, which is, "May he live in interesting times," is a Chinese curse. And we do hope that that prediction is not fulfilled. What do you think? Do share your thoughts. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management, and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice, and merely represent the personal views of its owners.